Hello and welcome to Create Change, my new free 1 hour masterclass all about building lasting habits for a happier and healthier life. I'm so excited to share this with you. I've had such a great response when I mentioned that this may be one of the topics for an upcoming masterclass. And I cannot wait for you to really see how you can create these healthy habits that are going to change your life. I'm a big believer that the habits we have, they inform our mindset, the decisions we make, our health, our happiness. So today's workshop is incredibly grounding, and I'm going to help to share some new perspectives with you on creating healthy habits. So let's dive in. So, a little bit about me, if you haven't met me before, I'm Jem. I'm a certified coach, a certified personal trainer, and a Reiki practitioner. So, all of this really does mean that I believe in a holistic approach to wellness that does include the mind, the body, and the spirit, hence being a mindset coach, personal trainer, and a Reiki practitioner. And my passion in life is helping women just like you to create sustainable habits that support you with living a happy, healthy, and thriving life. And I'm 35 now. I spent well over a decade in the corporate world, working in advertising as a graphic designer and an art director in both London and Australia. And during that time, I got incredibly burned out. I was very much a sugar addict. I couldn't stand exercise. I had terrible anxiety. And over the last decade or so, I've transformed my life. And that has been due to the habits I have created on a daily basis. And now I live a really healthy life. I am thankful to be well often rather than wellness being just a little glimmer amongst illness, which my life once was. Many times I was diagnosed with burnout and suspected glandular fever from pushing myself too far. And now I eat a plant-based diet. I've been vegan for 10 years. I love to exercise. I love to move my body. And I've really learned the power of calming my mind. And as a result, my anxiety, my OCD has really decreased a lot. And I look back at that version of me who would often, I call it split screening, where you'd be maybe in a job, but you couldn't truly be present because you were busy ruminating or worrying about something or feeling anxious about the future. And it feels very foreign to me, that feeling now, because through the practices I'm going to share with you today, I've really learned how to come back into my body and to be in control of my mind, not to have my mind control the rest of my life and to live in fear. And I did this by creating these positive habits that felt fun, that felt easy to implement. And believe me, I've been through a lot of different things to get to where I am today. So by listening to this masterclass, I'm saving you over a decade of trial and error. You're welcome. And this is something I wish I'd had at the beginning of my own holistic healing and wellness journey. So it's really such an honor and a pleasure to be able to share this with you today. And I hope you take so much away from it, even if you just choose one thing to do and you tap into the feeling of committing to that habit and how it's going to change your life. This really is a journey that has transformed my life, and I know it's going to transform yours too. By the way, if my voice sounds a little bit croaky, I've actually over socialized a bit in the last week and I'm losing my voice, which for an introvert is really not surprising. But I appreciate you still coming along for the ride anyway. And in today's session, I'm going to be diving into the mind, body, spirit connection, how you can create healthy habits for each of these. So I'm really breaking it down. I'm not just saying, yes, habits are brilliant and go away and figure it out for yourself. I am giving you the step by step because for me, I know that really helps to know if I do this, then I get this. And you really want the from A to B step. And then we're going to be looking at how you can make these habits sustainable and finding simple, fun ways to do so. And also, I always love to dive into the shadow work because, yes, love and light is beautiful, but sometimes there's a part of us that will keep going back to what we know is safe. And that's why we keep giving up. That's why we keep self-sabotaging. And we're going to be looking at that today and looking at why you start this habit, but for some reason you find it hard to keep the momentum or to sustain it. And then lastly, I'm going to be sharing something special with you about how you can tell if you're being led by ego or intuition. And as always, let's begin today's masterclass by doing a short meditation and setting an intention. So, if you are sat down, you can close your eyes. If you are driving, if you're cooking, if you're at work, do follow along and use this as an opportunity to reconnect with your body and to give your mind just a little few minutes break for today. So when you do feel ready, you can close your eyes if you feel comfortable to do so and bring your awareness to your breath. Taking these deep, cleansing, nourishing breaths in, feeling how that cool air comes into your body, noticing how it feels so nourishing and cleansing. And then with a big exhale, letting out a and repeating this just a couple times more. Feeling yourself ground into this present moment. Letting go of any distractions, of anything else that's happened today, and choosing from now on to dedicate the next hour or so to your own well-being, to know that this is an investment of your time into your own health. So often we put ourselves at the bottom of the list, but when we make ourselves a priority in our own lives, everyone else gets the best of us. But when we are leaving our cup until last to be filled, they're just getting the rest of us, they're getting the dregs. So maybe that can be your intention for today, to make yourself a priority. Or you can see whatever comes through for you in this moment. What intention would you like to set for today? And take in a few last grounding, nourishing breaths, feeling your body relax from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, and from the left all the way to the right. And when you feel ready to, you can slowly bring your awareness back into your room, into the surroundings. Flutter your eyelids open. And let's prepare for today's session. So, this is the $1,000,000 question. Why do we need healthy habits? So, you may have your own reason for wanting to create healthy habits. Maybe it is to reduce your anxiety. Maybe it is to feel more confident walking into that room. Maybe it's you want your clothes to fit a little bit better. So overall, I would say that healthy habits really do give us a better quality of life. When we have that groundedness of habits, it stops us from floating around and procrastinating, wasting time, feeling like the day has passed us by and we haven't done what we want. And for me, habits really do tie into routine. And this was something I definitely noticed when I went from working in the corporate world where my day was mapped out pretty much hour by hour to go to work into myself, I really struggled with feeling overwhelmed with the amount of time in my day. So I made myself a small schedule. It was very relaxed, but it looked like going to the gym in the morning. It looked like eating lunch at a certain time, finishing work at a certain time. And having this routine really did ground me, and it helped me to build healthy habits into my day, which of course helped improve my mental health and my mindset because I felt proud of myself for going to the gym every day and I was holding myself accountable. So my energy levels were higher, my mind felt clearer, my body felt fitter, and my frequency was raising all the time, which was really helping my manifestations. Because as we know, the higher your frequency, the more of an energetic match you are to manifesting. And the more you focus on these, the higher your confidence becomes, the more you start to build this positive attitude to life in general. I often think of it as like a snowball effect. Once you start to implement healthy habits, you have this core foundation in your life that is a non-negotiable. And it helps you to really build your world around what you know feels good to you. And by doing that, yeah, you build your confidence. You realize I am worthy of doing this. And then you keep creating that momentum. And before you know it, you've completely transformed your mind, your body, your spirit. And that's all because of these small tweaks to your day. And I found this quote when I was reading up about habits, and it said, first we make our habits, then our habits make us. And I think for a lot of people, creating new habits is often met with resistance, but do not be fooled by resistance and thinking, oh, that's a sign that I shouldn't do this. Often our ego will claw us back to what we know is best, as I mentioned earlier. So by getting out your comfort zone, by trying something new, a lot of the time ego's like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to fail. Because to the ego, failure means, oh my gosh, outcast from the tribe, left alone. And what's going to happen after that? If you imagine you're in a tribe and you do something to fail or to rock the boat, then you get outcast, then you're not going to survive. So our ego is always going to try and keep us safe. So maybe when you try to create a new habit and you find yourself going, oh, this is hard. Oh, I'm not meant to do it. Oh, I don't feel aligned to it. Check in with yourself and ask, is this ego or am I just feeling a little bit of resistance? We're going to talk about that towards the end. So I'm not going to dive into it too much. But to create the habit, you do have that little run of hurdles to overcome where you feel like, this is uncomfortable for me. And there would have once been a time when maybe you started school and you had to get back into a routine, maybe after the summer holidays, and you had to create those habits again, or even driving, or doing the washing, or cooking dinner. All these things that just seem like second nature to us. They are habits, and we don't realize a lot of the time because we do them on autopilot. But the more you begin to take action, the more you embed something into your subconscious. And it sort of becomes this automatic habit that you don't become so conscious of. So, an example of this for me is noticing when I may be slipping into lack and then I catch myself and I go, no, I repeat my mantra now. That stops me from not doing the habit. That is a habit I've created. Like when I have awareness of my thoughts, I know that I can transform that. And when I do my affirmations every day, my gratitude list, I feel better in the morning when I wake up. And then that's another habit. So really remember that you may feel uncomfortable when you start making your habits and creating them, but then they will start to create you. They will start to define your life. For example, I'm vegan, and it was a big shift going from vegetarian to vegan, especially over 10 years ago. But now my veganism dictates where I eat, what kind of food I eat. And again, that does support that mind body connection for me. But it's something I don't even think about now, the fact I'm vegan. It's just part of me. And the same will go for you when maybe you start running or you're into swimming or maybe you want to read more. At first, it'll feel like, oh, this isn't me. And then at some point, you'll just be like, well, I'm a reader now. I'm a swimmer now. I'm a runner now. It becomes ingrained in you. So I wanted to touch on as well the mind, body, spirit connection, because I really do think that this is fundamental when it comes to making habits and it's so overlooked. This is something I speak to clients about a lot because it's so easy to just do one of these in isolation and to wonder, why am I not seeing the results in other areas of my life? And I've really had this huge realization over the past decade that the mind, body, spirit connection is so powerful. It is almost the ethos of holistic healing that we don't just run and run 20K and then come home and eat junk food and then watch Netflix all night. What if we run and then we fuel our body with a high protein, high carb meal and find that balance between the veggies and the proteins and the fats and the carbs. And then what if we go to bed at a reasonable hour? And then that helps us to not only repair, but it helps us to feel more positive in the morning. And that helps our spirit, that helps our mindset. So you can really see that's a great example of how we are interconnected. And for so many people, they might think, well, it doesn't really matter what I eat because I'm already doing the mindset work. So I'm fine. But 75% of our immune cells are created in our gut. 95% of our serotonin is created in our gut. So that means then we literally are what we eat. So by eating lots of highly processed junk food, that impacts our mind, that impacts our ability to stay well. So you may notice you get sick more. You may notice maybe you feel lethargic. And then it becomes this vicious cycle of I'm eating all the rubbish food and then I don't want to do the mindset work or the gratitude list in the evening because I feel really sluggish. And then that is impacting my mindset the next day. And then it's like this cycle that needs breaking. So really do think about your own mind, body, spirit connection. And maybe you are really investing in one area, but letting the other two areas sort of slide and deep down, hey, I could be squeezing in a 20-minute YouTube yoga video in between my calls and kind of not making the excuses that, yeah, well, I'm eating well, I'm doing my mindset work. But a lot of the time, once you start to do this and try to do a little one for each day, it will honestly have such a compound effect on your well-being, your health, your happiness. And I'm going to share with you some ways that you can support and nourish and create healthy habits for each of these now. So then when we think of creating positive, healthy habits for your mind, practicing gratitude for what you already have is the biggest game changer that I can mention. It's free as well. I often say to clients, to students, to anyone that listens to my podcast that so much of this work can actually be free, and you don't always need to buy the crystals or the notebooks or the tarot cards. It is lovely to have those beautiful things, but I would never want that to be a barrier to you starting. So start now and start with what you have. So maybe you could just write down in your phone, what am I grateful for today? Maybe you can lie in bed in the evening and think of one thing you are so grateful for. And maybe think of something that you used to take for granted as well. Because I know for a lot of us, once we have created those healthy habits and it has become embedded within our subconscious, we start to forget the amount of effort and energy we put into creating it. And that's something you can do too when you find yourself struggling or feeling filled with fear for doing something new. Come back to a time when you were also afraid of creating that healthy habit or making that change, and how now it's completely overhauled your life. And you think, why didn't I do it sooner? And another thing you can do is to limit screen time. So, can you read a book instead? Can you go for a walk? Can you put your phone in another room? That's something I try to do a lot because otherwise I am guilty. If I hear the bzz sound, I will check it. And then it really pulls you out of the moment of being present. And if you do have to be in front of your phone, so sometimes when I'm in the supermarket, I will, be in the queue and I'll put my stuff on the belt. I will think, what can I do instead of scrolling Instagram? So maybe I'll look at my Pinterest vision board. Maybe I'll look up some positive quotes. Maybe I'll think, oh, I'll just reply to some client messages. So I really try to maximize the time I'm on my screen to get something positive done, not to just endlessly scroll and scroll and scroll and think in that half an hour, what could I have done? Yeah, I could have gone for a walk. I could have read a chapter of my book. I could have made a smoothie. I could have taken my vitamins. So really do see your time as being so valuable and so precious that you don't want to waste it doom scrolling for the rest of the day. And something else I love to do is to eat a balanced diet and to practice the 80-20 rule where I eat healthily 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time, if I want some lentil chips, I will indulge. But I don't think it's ever about the extreme. And I definitely have experienced disordered eating in the past when it comes to going too down the healthy eating lane and getting obsessed with that. So for me, having balance has been really helpful and really positive because we know it's a tale as old as time that when you deny yourself of something, you end up craving it and binging it. So that healthy habit could be I eat really healthily in the week, and then on the weekend I go out for a meal with my friends or my partner or my family, and I eat what I want and I enjoy it. I'm all about enjoying life and enjoying food and enjoying experiences with others. And another way you can create a positive habit for your mind is to set realistic goals that inspire you rather than overwhelm you. And I think, especially with manifestation, sometimes people think, well, I'd love to manifest £1 million. But deep down, they don't have that feeling of worthiness around £1 million to begin with. They have no proof for their subconscious mind to get behind it. So they struggle to manifest it. So why not say, I'd love to start by manifesting £100 or £500 and laddering your way up and building that confidence, building that belief, creating those habits that help you to go, oh, when I do this, then I feel like I'm more in my feminine energy and I feel more like my manifestations are just flowing to me nonstop. So, yes, I love the big goals. Maybe for you, you create 3 vision boards. You create that 1 year vision board, the 5 year, and the 10 year vision board. So you don't get to the end of the year or the month and go, well, I didn't manifest this. I'm a failure. There's no point in trying and then feeling like you're back to the beginning. Why don't you set realistic goals that you think, yeah, I could actually literally do that and feel excited about it, not dread or fear that it's not going to happen. And even sometimes we don't manifest things. And it's about how you speak to yourself when this happens. Can you be self compassionate? Can you have that loving self talk? Can you talk to yourself like you would a friend or a partner? And trust that everything is working its way to you in divine timing. And I know sometimes this has really been a hard thing for me to embrace and embody, especially coming from the corporate world, where I think for a lot of us, we're taught that more is more. And we are a lot of the time not enough. We should be working harder. We should be staying later. And that led me to becoming very self critical, which is something I took into my own businesses. And I've spent a lot of time unraveling that, working through it, and realizing that sometimes when things don't go to plan, it's okay. It's a redirection. It's not a rejection. So maybe you can bring your awareness to when you are being a little bit tough on yourself, when you are setting these goals or manifestations that are actually start to make you feel a bit shit about yourself instead of inspired. And my friend Stancy, who was once on my podcast, she talked about this before, where she said sometimes there is a dark side to manifesting where we can not realize that our manifestations are working against us in that way. When we are too over ambitious, it actually deters us from manifesting and it makes us feel deflated. So ask, what can I manifest maybe in a month, in 6 months, and in a year? And what inspired actions can I take towards that? Another thing you can do is to learn new skills that keep your memory sharp. This is something that I love to do a lot of the time. I'll try to learn some new software. I'll try to learn a new course. And something I'm really interested in doing is adult ballet. And of course, I've been learning to surf a little bit more. And it's so fun to create new habits in your mind and to really have that awareness of, oh my gosh, I am learning something new. I'm learning to mold my brain in real time because, especially as adults, we forget how much we know. And we forget how many times we fell over as a baby. We forget that we once couldn't talk and we take everything for granted. We forget that we couldn't drive or cook or all these other things. And really coming back to that feeling of being new, of being the beginner, I find really energizing and inspiring. And it keeps you humble as well. And there's nothing to ground you like trying something new and being like, oh, this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So maybe you can think about one new skill you could learn this week, this month, this year that's going to help your mind and your mindset. And it's really great for your confidence to learn that skill and to grasp it and say, oh, I knew I could do it all along. So another thing I think is key to creating a positive habit for your mind is getting quality sleep that leaves you feeling energized for the day ahead. I know it's so tempting. I often get sucked into this to think, I'll just watch another half an hour of the show. And then I wake up the next day and morning me thinks, why did nighttime me decide to watch another half an hour of the show? Because now I'm paying the price for it. I'm groggy, I'm sleepy, my day is running late because I slept in and I'm chasing my tail a bit. So you can always think the night before, what would future me thank me for? And I find I do that a lot where I tap into that version of me in the morning who is feeling great. She's waking up before her alarm. She's excited to get the doggies out. And she's feeling like she's had really great quality sleep because sleep is so essential for renewal, for re-energizing, and it's often so overlooked in creating habits in our day. And of course, I can't talk about this without saying that practicing mindfulness and being present in the moment will really help you to calm your mind and to reduce the anxious feelings that keep coming up. They definitely did for me because when we are mindful and truly present in the moment, we can't be distracted by ruminating over the past or worrying about the future. We are here now and we are being here now, as Ram Dass would say. So maybe you can use some techniques, something I used to do at the beginning of this journey where I was learning to calm my mind was if I felt my mind running away with me, I would try and look at a tree and count the leaves, or look at the different shades of green in it, or look at the sky and try and notice the different cloud patterns and make the little shapes out of the clouds. And it's finding a positive distraction that takes you out of your mind and grounds you back into your body. And speaking of which, we're going to talk about creating positive habits for your body. So, of course, you want to be moving each day and finding a way to make moving feel fun. If you don't like running, then maybe don't commit to running a 5K every day because that's not going to become a sustainable happy habit for you. So maybe you love yoga. Maybe you could walk to the yoga class. Maybe you could go swimming with a friend. Maybe you could do some HIIT exercise. I know for me, a positive habit I have is that I exercise with my sister on FaceTime 3 mornings a week at 7:30. And it helps because I don't have the barrier of going to a gym. I can literally just get up. I put my clothes out the night before and the weights, which is a habit that I've created. I've learned through lots of experience that it's not fun to be rummaging through your wardrobe in the dark at 7 a.m. And I get the mat out and I know she's going to be there. She's holding me accountable. So maybe you could also have an accountability buddy. And I get moving and I feel incredible after it. We do a sort of HIT boot camp type workout exercise and we always feel amazing after it. And if we skip a week, we say, oh, I feel really groggy this week, or I feel like my joints are creaking a little bit more. So we really start to notice the other side of not doing the positive habits. And we realize just how powerful creating these habits are for us. And staying hydrated is often very overlooked too. And I know some people I meet, they say, I don't really like drinking water. I find it really boring. So maybe you could put some mint in it. Maybe you could put some chopped up fruit or cucumber to find a way that you can still drink it and it doesn't feel like you're just chugging it back for the sake of it. Maybe you can put in a lovely glass, get some cute ice cubes to go in it, whatever works for you. But I'm all about making things fun and almost romanticizing your life as well. So I always buy really cute glasses and cups to sit at my desk with and bottles because it feels like a little luxury experience when I'm drinking them or topping them up and finding those little beautiful moments in the day. I love and I try to do that everywhere throughout my house, whether that's smell or food or yeah, the crockery I'm using. And speaking of that, eating mindfully and without distractions is such an incredible habit to create for your body because mindful eating means that you are coming back to being present. You're not watching the TV and just chomping it back or chatting away all the time. And you're not scrolling on Instagram. You are being there in the moment without distractions. And sometimes I find myself, I'll be eating a snack and then I'm like, oh, the TV's on. And I start watching it or I find myself on Instagram. And I have to actively say, no, put the phone away. The phone's always going to be there. The food isn't. So take a moment to take in the smell, the texture, and how you expect it to taste versus how it tastes. And not to take these huge mouthfuls, but to enjoy the small mouthfuls of each flavor. And that's something I've really learned to enjoy. I learned that from my naturopath, and it's really helped me to change the way I eat as well, because I find that I have more gratitude for the food that I eat. I start to think about, oh, wow, I wonder how many people have gone into getting this carrot on my plate. And then I think about, oh, I wonder how long it took to grow. My mind goes off on a tangent. But I love it because it makes me feel grateful as well, which again is so powerful. And another thing I love to do is to practice intuitive eating, which really does tie back into that sort of 80-20 rule that I follow, where if some days I want to eat a little bit of dark chocolate, I'm going to eat the dark chocolate. I'm not going to deny myself of it. And some days I might want to eat a lighter meal or not eat lunch. And I really honor my body. I trust that my body knows what's best for me. And I've tapped into my intuition so much that I know, hey, if my body really wants chocolate and olives, oh, that means it probably wants magnesium and fats because I'm PMSing. And then tracking that in with your cycle, you begin to realize why you crave certain foods at certain times of the month as well. So maybe that's something you can do as well. If you have a monthly cycle, you can see how you can notice where your cravings come in or how you eat differently. And it's really interesting. And of course, keeping healthy snacks on hand is such a positive habit to create. This is something, again, I've really learned firsthand, where I now always keep olives and hummus and organic carrots in my fridge because I know when it gets to 3 p.m., I'm going to get hungry. And if there's lentil chips in the cupboard, I'm definitely going to be eating the lentil chips because they're just a quick win because they're salty and they're crunchy. So you get that quick dopamine hit, but then you get the crash afterwards because there's actually no nutrition in them, really. And to me, they're kind of junk food. Um, so where can you keep those snacks on hand? And again, that is a positive habit that you can create, which is I go shopping on a Sunday. I buy myself enough snacks for the week. I think about when I'm hungry in the day. I think about what I'm likely to reach for. If I want sugar in the afternoon, can I buy fruit? If I want coffee in the morning, can I have a matcha instead? And really thinking about future planning and what future you is going to thank you for. And of course, I can't end this section without saying that appreciating your body for all it does for you is such a wonderful way to live. And it's such a wonderful mindset to create. There were definitely times in my life where I was mad at my body, where I felt like it was betraying me because I couldn't lift heavier or run faster. Or I didn't look like this way I wanted to look. And the minute I stopped criticizing myself and I actually thought, I'm going to move intuitively. So I'm only going to do exercise I really enjoy, which is yoga, surfing, hiking, and weights. Then I'm going to eat what I enjoy, but always find balance between what's nutritious and what's enjoyable. Everything changed. It was like I was never yo-yoing anymore. I was never feeling like I had to go to the gym all the time because I found these habits. I felt so sustainable. It was like my body found an equilibrium and this real sense of balance within itself because it was no longer on this fluctuating thing of, hang on, I'm being pushed to the extreme to the point where I didn't even have a period for 9 months, I think it was, and being undernourished and over exercise. And then I came back to loving my body. What can I do for love? Actually, I exercise because I love my body. I eat healthy because I love my body. I want to have a long and happy and healthy life. And that shift changed everything for me. So maybe you can think about like, what is my why? What's my why for eating healthy? What's my why for doing the gratitude list? What's my why for moving my body each day? And a lot of the time, for a lot of us, it's because I want to feel good. I want to feel healthy. And then the looking good comes on the other side of that, I believe. It all is that holistic approach. When you speak kindly to yourself, you appreciate yourself, you feel more encouraged to exercise out of love and gratitude rather than feeling like, oh, my body never looks good enough. I'm never going to get there. And this little shift out of lack into abundance of how grateful am I to have legs that work, to have a healthy heart that I can exercise with. You start to go, oh, why am I taking all this for granted? Yeah, of course I'm going to do some yoga. Of course I'm going to do some running or some walking today and move my body because I love it and I value it so much. And exercise as well, of course, is great for your immune system, great for your joints when they're creating that synovial fluid, which means it's lubricating the joints, which is why a lot of the time after you exercise, you feel quite loosey-goosey because you've got all that lovely fluid and that juice in your joints as well. And then lastly, we're going to move on to creating positive habits for your spirit. So meditating is one of my favorite ways to come back into my body and to calm my mind. And I met someone the other day and they said, I get told all the time that I should meditate because I have anxiety, but I just can't. I cannot sit still. And I said, well, why don't you try active meditation? Why didn't you go for a walk? Why didn't you swim? I think swimming is actually such a meditative thing to do because it's just you and your breath, really. When you get into that rhythm of moving your body with your breath, you start to harness that flow. And I used to find I'd get a lot of creative ideas when I was swimming or running, being in that moment where I was connected to the breath. So if you struggle to meditate, maybe you can try active meditation. Go for a walk and put the phone away and try to look around what is around you. Try to be truly grounded in the moment. When thoughts come in, just allow them to float out and to say, I'm centered, I am here. Or you can try a guided meditation. I have loads on my YouTube for free. And there are many on YouTube anyway that you can embrace and try to get into a little bit to open up your mind to the possibility of meditation. And as well, a benefit for me of meditating is that I'm an open channel to guidance. So I get more clarity. I am getting told what my next aligned action is rather than being in my masculine and going, I have to do these 10 emails today to these 10 people that I don't really care that much about if they come on my podcast, but I just want to tick the box. Instead, I go, I'm going to do something, I'm going to meditate, what's the next step? And then someone's name will come up, or I'll think, oh, I would love to talk to them actually. And then that's the inspired aligned action. And I take the inspired action on that, and then we manifest. You can also visualize your desires already being here now. Visualization is one of my favorite tools. I'm a very visual person. If you struggle with visualizing, how can you feel like you've already had that thing? Maybe you can imagine that you are calling your friend and pick your phone up and say, oh my gosh, you'll never guess what happened. I just got the keys to my new car or my new house. Or, oh my, that dress I bought with you last year, that dress fits. And you can play it out and you may feel really silly, but it's all about training your subconscious and creating these pathways that, oh, I can tap into the feeling of it already being here without it already being here. But getting your mind and your energy in that feeling of manifesting your desires. And another thing I would really recommend doing is spending time in nature to ground yourself each day. That could be a sea swim, that could be going for a walk in the woods, it could be taking your shoes off in the back garden. It doesn't have to be very overcomplicated. It's simply connecting you with the earth to allow your energy to neutralize, because we are positively charged with ions as humans and the earth is negatively charged. So we are literally recalibrating. And sometimes if I go for a walk and it's muddy and I don't want to take my shoes off, I'll just go and put my palms on a tree and I'll spend time touching the moss. And again, that's a mindfulness practice. And I have a wonderful friend, Carrie Ann, who is a forest bathing practitioner. And she gave us an exercise when I went forest bathing with her, which was to touch the tree with anything but your palm. And so she said, what about your wrist? What about the back of the hand? What about your cheek? And it sounds really funny to say out loud. But even my sister said the other day when we went for a walk, I love that exercise because it really challenges how you expect something to be versus how it is. And isn't that a great metaphor for life in general? How we expect it to be, but how it really plays out. And yeah, maybe that's something you can do. That's something really nice to do if you have children as well, to help them to connect with nature in a fun way, because I know kids are so tactile. And grounding, of course, I'm a huge advocate for. Maybe you can ground yourself with that nourishing shower at the end of the day, visualize that energy running off and say, I send back any energy that isn't mine to keep. And I call back any energy I gave away. Really simple practices like this are going to transform your day, and they're going to help you feel like you're really nurturing your spirit too. And as well, I would really encourage you to nurture your relationships with your loved ones, with your community. I know I always feel so inspired when I do my circles once a month and I see the women coming together, women that maybe have never been before, and then they come again and they feel like, oh, I know everyone. I have a sense of community. And I feel really proud to be able to bring these women together, and so grateful and so happy to see how much they light up in that room. And I feel like it's something I do of service to my community, to connect people, to encourage them to look after themselves for just a couple of hours and to raise their vibration and to go back out into the world and spread that with others. And of course, being of service really does tie into this because when we give without expectation of receiving, that's such a magical place to be in. I was telling a friend the other day that when I did my last circle, it was a manifestation workshop, which I don't usually do. So a lot of my regulars, they don't usually bring notebooks because they know they don't use them. And I thought, should I message everyone? I thought, no, I did put it on the booking page. And that's a lesson in listening to your intuition. Number one, I should have just messaged everyone. And then I started the circle and I said, does everyone have a notebook? And I think about four of the ladies were like, oh, I didn't know I needed a notebook. We don't usually need one. And I said, don't worry, I have some things downstairs. So I went downstairs because I am a TK Maxx notebook hoarder. I grabbed a little pile of notebooks and I just went around and gave them to everyone. And I didn't even think anything of it. I didn't think, oh, I've just spent an extra few pounds on these, or oh, this is coming out of my budget, or whatever. I just really wanted to give these ladies these notebooks. They were really cute as well. And how divine then that the next day I posted, oh, I've released my circles for the rest of the year. And I sold, I think, about 10 or 11 or 12 tickets in a couple of days. And it made up to about £500. So I really reflected on that afterwards. I remember thinking, oh, I wonder how those sold so quickly and like what I wonder what started that chain of events. I think because I was just feeling so good about giving these ladies these notebooks and seeing how happy they were. And then that made me happy. And I think that really stayed with me for a couple of days. And that energy was really fizzing around me. So the universe is always watching. I do always say this. We can't shortcut the circuit and think, I want this, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to expect this in return. It doesn't work like that. But we can always be of service to others, whether that is just texting a friend and saying, I'm thinking of you, I love you, or whether that's taking some flowers to your mum or to a neighbor, or sharing something or cooking dinner for someone and seeing them enjoy it. I think being of service is such a really lovely, kind thing to do. And it does wonders for our vibration as well. It says, I have so much abundance in my life that when I share with you, I don't feel like it's being taken away. I feel like I'm gaining more. And really try to remember that when you notice in yourself shift into lack, maybe you can surprise your friend with a coffee this week. Maybe you can get your partner their favorite chocolate. And trust that when you spend, money always comes back to you. It's the same with energy. When you give energy, it's always going to come back to you. And practice that self-reflection to see how far you have come on this spiritual journey and to notice how much you've evolved and how these habits you've created, they've really supported you to feel calmer, to trust the universe more, and to become a more powerful manifester. So I want to jump through a couple of top tips for how you can create sustainable habits. First off, we're going to start small. Begin with a habit that is so easy, you literally can't say no. Maybe that is when I go to the car park, when I'm going food shopping, I park over the other side and I walk a bit further. That is a non-negotiable. You literally are going to the car park anyway. And that does tie into my next point about anchoring to existing habits. So attaching what you are already doing to something new and really habit stacking. So an example of this, yeah, could be when I go to the shops, I park on the other side. So I get in a few more steps. Mine is when I put the dishwasher on at night, I take my vitamins. It's just a habit I've created because I don't like taking them in the morning. And the cupboard is right above the dishwasher. So I go, oh, I've put the dishwasher on, take my tablets. And it's as simple as that. That's a small habit. Maybe your habit is literally buying one of those weekly vitamin trays, which I feel like everyone laughs at me for. But put in those vitamins in the vitamin tray on a Sunday is a game changer for me, because I know come Monday night, I'm going to be a little bit tired from the day. And the last thing I want to do is go through 4 tubs of vitamins to get them all out. So if I invest the time now, then I know that I'm going to reap the rewards on the week evenings, and not have that barrier of resistance to overcome where I just make an excuse and move on in my day. And then what happens? I get sick because I'm not taking my vitamins. I feel lethargic and I lose confidence in my ability to show up for myself. So maybe think about what you can do that's a small habit that you can stack as well. And even the scroll in Pinterest and looking at your vision board in the supermarket queue, that is another one. I don't know why so many of my habits pertain to the supermarket. I think it's because I spend so much time there. But think about what you can do in your life. Maybe it's when I take my kids to school, instead of stopping off and getting the Starbucks that's loaded with sugar, I make my own little tea to take, and then I make them something to take. It only has to be tiny for you to start to see the results and to start to see the benefits of making new healthy habits. And obviously being consistent is really important with this. So trying to do this habit at the same time every day, like I mentioned with the exercise, 7:30 is my exercise time. And I plan the rest of my day around that, because I find if I skip that and I say later on in the day, I'll do exercise, it gets to 4 p.m. and the last thing I want to do is put on some workout clothes and have to do an hour of exercise. I want to cook dinner or take my dogs out. I've sort of lost the momentum. And think about where in your day you can perform that habit to really maximize your energy and your mindset. And of course, track your progress. You can use a habit tracker or a calendar each day and put an X on it. I love a physical calendar. I get so excited to tick stuff off and to see, oh my gosh, I've done this every day for a month, and to put that little cross on. And it gives you that motivation and the momentum too. And try to think about what might get in the way and what obstacles you think may hold you back. So, for example, if you want to exercise in the morning, but you actually have to take your kids to school, then maybe that's going to be too much of a juggle. So maybe you take the kids to school and then you can exercise if you have flexible working. And think about the ways around, think about the solutions to the problem. I often say to people that my job as a coach is that I am almost a professional problem solver, because I work with clients and they'll say, I really want to do this one thing, but I don't know how to do it. So we think laterally and we get into creative thinking and we start to think of the obstacles. I had a lovely client who's probably listening to this, and she wanted to start swimming more, but she was saying, I have to get all these buses to go to the pool. And immediately I thought, why don't you just get a taxi? Get the taxi, see it as an investment in yourself. It's actually holding you accountable as well, because that man or woman is showing up at that time and they are proving to you that you are going to the pool. And then also, reward yourself as well. So we said to her, okay, so the pool feels like this little bit of resistance to get there, to get back into swimming. And I said, well, if you have the taxi ride, which is going to be enjoyable, and then why don't we find something positive on the other side of swimming? Like you can take your favorite book and you can go to a coffee shop and you can read your favorite book, which you can only read when you go to this coffee shop. So you kind of positively tricking your brain and you get your favorite coffee. And then, so the swimming then sort of becomes this thing you do in between getting the nice taxi ride where you can listen to a podcast and then going for the nice coffee. And all of a sudden, it's gone from this massive mountain to this tiny little thing that's like, oh, yeah, swim me for half an hour. That's fine. I can do that because I'm going to get that nice reward on the other side. And I often refer to this as the dangling carrot. I always say to my clients, you want to get this thing done. What is the dangling carrot at the end? And are you going to book something in? How are you going to reward yourself? Because as humans, we work off a reward system naturally. So we want to embrace that in a really positive way to make you feel good. And of course, try to be kind and patient with yourself. Sometimes you may start something with the best of intentions, but there might be a couple of setbacks. We can never predict life, but are there small ways each day you can still do that habit? If you struggle to read, can you listen to a podcast instead or an audio book and find the little loopholes in your day? Maybe you're cooking. For me, I was saying yesterday, my cooking is actually my learning time where I love to be left alone just to listen to a podcast. And I do that every night. So think of how much I'm learning throughout a week when I cook every day for about 45 minutes. That's hours of information that I can consume whilst also cooking a delicious meal. And something I did want to talk about as well was prioritizing. So, thinking in your day and in your life, what are the glass balls versus the plastic balls? So, if you think you're juggling and half of these balls are glass, half of them are plastic, you really do not want to drop the glass balls because they're going to smash. So, for me, a glass ball in the day is if I don't walk my dog, then I'm going to get a really snappy, energized dog who's just really sassy with me all day and who's going to bark at me and going to be feeling like he wants me to constantly take him out. So for me, that's a glass wall. I cannot not take Leo out and Cole. Whereas if it's a plastic ball could be like, well, I don't need to eat breakfast at the same time every day. I can eat breakfast after I take the dogs out. And that's a really simple way for me to have wiggle room in my day. For you, it could be, yeah, I have to take my kids to school at a certain time. I have to start work at a certain time. That is a non-negotiable. But then what else can you wiggle within the day and what can you move around so that you don't feel like you are constantly juggling these things and getting your priorities all mixed up? So, one of the last few things I really would love you to think about is where you're holding yourself back. Where are you self sabotaging? Where are you starting doing the habit and then going, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I feel like this is just too much of an effort. Oh, I don't have the money to do that. And constantly talking yourself out of it and really not committing. That is the essence of not creating habits, is being non-committal. And when we self-sabotage, yes, it feels great. It's like eating junk food. It feels great in the short term, but in the long term, we see the negative effects of it because we just have these days where we feel like we don't get anything done. We feel like really crummy at the end of the day because we didn't exercise, we didn't eat healthily, and so then what happens? We get sucked into the cycle where it's harder and harder to create change. So maybe think as well, where am I resisting change? What am I afraid of happening if I have to ask my partner, hey, can you walk the dogs for me so I can go to the gym in the morning? Am I trying to avoid conflict? So I just think, oh, it's just easy. I just won't make that decision to go to the gym because I don't want to impose on someone else. And then you sort of self-abandon essentially and you resist change from that place. And really, this does tie into as well a fear of failure and failing. Where are you afraid of failing? Sometimes it feels easier to not start than to fail because we've tried. And remember that even if you take one baby step today, that's more than you did yesterday. And when we keep taking little baby steps, then we have these huge leaps that all compound towards creating these healthy, happy habits that transform our lives when we look back. And yes, I know sometimes it can feel overwhelming. So check in with yourself. Why do I feel overwhelmed today? Maybe I've put too many glass balls on my list for today. Can I take some off and swap them in with some plastic balls and make a priority list for the day and put your healthy habits at the top of them and bake them into your day as non-negotiables. But you don't want to say, I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to cook only organic vegan food and I'm going to go for a 5K run every day. That's going to make you feel overwhelmed. As lovely as it sounds, start with one. I often say to clients, and I say it regularly on my podcast, Start with one thing and see how you feel doing that, and then take it from there. Don't feel like you've got to completely rewrite the script of your life, because you want to see the positive impact as well. You want to see that through to fruition. And think about what patterns come up when you try to create new habits. What excuses do you make for yourself? That's a little bit of shadow work for you to do. Where you say, oh, actually, I remember my mom told me I'm really uncoordinated, so I'm not going to go to that dance class with my friends weekly. And that's a form of an excuse. I hate to break it to you. Or you say, well, I don't have time to cook healthy food. And again, that's an excuse, because there's lots of healthy food that's actually really quick to cook. And think of the excuses. Ask yourself, why am I making this excuse? And what's the opposite of this? What's the smallest little baby step I can take? Maybe the pattern is I'm feeling like I'm not worthy of actually having time to myself. So I make up excuses that, oh, everyone else needs me and needs my time. So I would love for you to go away today and think about, where am I creating excuses around why I cannot create healthy habits, and think about your own energy givers and your own energy takers too. What energizes you in the day? Like I was talking about being of service to others, and what's taking your energy? Maybe it's constantly over giving. So for you, a habit might be, I have hours each day where I dedicate that time to myself. And if someone rings me, then I do not answer the phone. I let it ring off and I ring them once I'm done. Lastly, I really want to touch on this, which is to ask yourself, am I being led by ego or intuition? So if you are listening to the podcast, I'd love for you to think about this circle. And then I'd love you to think about a spiral. We can all picture those. The circle is the ego loop. So ego will resist positive habits and change because it wants you to stay exactly where you are. But as a result of this, you end up being stuck in the same loop. You're repeating these negative habits time after time, and you can't break the loop because it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy as well. But if you have a soul spiral, which is when you're being guided by your intuition, you are making choices, you're creating habits that align with your highest self. So these help you to evolve, to become more healthy and happy. And you're actually coming back to your higher self, your truest self. So you're going from the outside all the way into the center of the spiral and going deeper and deeper and deeper. So try to visualize these when you find yourself talking yourself out of creating healthy habits or making those excuses. Think, hang on, when I allow myself to be guided, things feel really light and flowy and fun. So how can I tap into my intuition today? Maybe it is that nature walk. Maybe it's the meditation. Maybe I take a relaxing goddess bath. And what guidance can come through for me to help see that these habits can feel happy and light, and they don't have to feel like a chore. There's something I can look forward to creating, and I can tap into that energy of myself being on the other side of them. And as a last little reminder from me, I've created you a mindful moments checklist for your day. So think about these healthy habits and how you can integrate them into your day. So maybe making your bed, developing a slow morning routine, eating that nourishing, wholesome breakfast, scheduling time for exercise, drinking more water, practicing healthy eating, starting a meditation practice, keeping your space tidy. And I'm a big believer that a cluttered space leads to a cluttered mind. And that's actually a big act of self-love and a healthy habit you can create. It is to tidy up your space, or to put your kitchen to bed. I saw that recently. Put your kitchen to bed each night, which means putting everything away, cleaning it up, ready for the next day. So when you start that new day, you have a fresh mindset. And then a few final ways to have more mindful moments in your day are to express gratitude, to visualize, and to make your sleep a priority. So maybe you can think about how you can do some of these in the day and what the ones are that really did jump out to you when I was talking to you, and choose one or two or three and start to incorporate them into your day, into your week, to create these healthy habits. And that brings me to the end of today's masterclass, Create Change. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm ready for you to go out there and to create the positive change in your mind, your body, and your spirit. And I can't wait to hear how you get on. Please do, as always, keep in touch at Ground a Gem on Instagram. If you'd like to find out more about ways to work with me, my courses, my offerings, all about feminine energy, manifestation, mindset, self-love, head on over to my website, groundimagem.com, and you can also apply for one-to-one coaching with me there too. So with that said, I'm so grateful for you dedicating this time to yourself today, and go forth and create change. Sending you all the love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.